program. Okay, family. Thank you for tuning in, family. I know it's a little bit of a silence, but I'm just making sure we're going live on all our platforms. I want to welcome everybody live to BTV. Thank you for being here. This is Black Education Empowers True Vision. I am so happy to be here today with you and with the family. We are kicking off Black August the right way with activism, liberation, and for our people. And that's what it's about. So I'm just so happy to have you guys here today. And I'm happy to bring back Miss Brooke Sinclair, founder of the Blood Pact, the Super PAC for Black Americans. Thank you so much for being here, Brooke. Thank you for coming back, and thank you for allowing BTV to host and stream this on our platform. We're honored. Thank you. And I want to welcome Dr. Hashaki Nichols, founder of the Redemption Party. Peace Queen, thank you so much for being on BTV. Welcome to BTV. And I'll let you Queen, say something if you want to say a little something to introduce yourself and tell the people a little bit about yourself before we get started.
Hashaki, go ahead.
Okay. Thank you so much for having me, Queen. Like, I've heard so much about you. And like I said, I've seen you on X here and there, different times. Thank you for being a powerful voice, especially for Black Americans and women, and just really for our people. But to everyone out there, my name is Dr. Hashaki Nichols. I am the founder of the Redemption Party. I was running for president for this 2024 cycle. And in that time, I started the Redemption Party in January of 2023. And we won our first election in November of 2023. So we now hold the majority in the city of Roseland, Indiana, where it was democratically run since 1916. The city was not run by any other party but the Democratic Party. So the Republican Party never won in that city. And it flipped after 100 years to the Redemption Party. So we're really working hard to make sure that the citizens of that city are, getting their needs met. I'm actually here in Indiana now, so I've gotten a chance to visit with the city, do some work for them. I am the legislative liaison for the city. So just making sure that the city is up to code legally. And again, making sure that, the chief of police, he's happy in his position. And also the treasurer, who is also my co-founder and chairman, that he's doing well. He's actually 25 years old. So we're starting with the second generation after me, really looking at building political wealth and capital. So again, Hashaki Nichols, founder of the Redemption Party.
Welcome, Queen. That was beautiful. I love everything I heard there. So inspiring and empowering for the community, what you're doing, trailblazing for the new way. Yeah. And thank you for that. So go ahead, Brooke.
Yes, hi, welcome. That's a tough act to follow. Brooke Sinclair, founder of By Our Blood Political Action Committee. We're a super PAC for freedmen and freedmen issues. Actually, and our super PAC is actually the inspiration behind this event for this evening. Somebody came up to me and said, we need to really highlight the super PAC and make it bring it back in front of the people. So we're pulling together this event, not to actually raise funds for our super PAC, but actually to raise funds for what we consider a very wise investment in your political future. So before we get to any sort of investing funds or talking about money, first, let's talk about the reason why we're here this evening. Dr. Hashaki, excuse me. I knew I was going to mess that up. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. Everybody calls me Shaq. So for this event, let's just go with Shaq because it's easier.
Yeah. Once you said Shaq, I was good. I was like, if you tell me that now, I'm going to remember it. And I think I did good. But, I thought I was going to be the one to butcher it. But that's why I was like, hold on, let me write that down. And I was like, I'm going to spell it how she wants me to say it. I'm like,
I knew it.
I practiced
it, but I was like,
yes. Shaq is
okay.
cool. I
It's
love that
okay.
anyway. Yep.
Thank you.
I'm the
You
nickname
know,
queen, so that's what's up.
excellent. Well, thank you. Could you tell us why it's important for the elders and the olders of the FBA committee, the people who are the the freedom fighters and their younger brothers and sisters? Why is it important that they take advantage of this of this opportunity to be exempt? And why should they demand that this exemption be upheld?
Well, because what we're finding out is without proper gatekeeping, people tend to insert themselves into the Black community as if it's okay and when it's convenient for them. So nobody wants to go through the suffering and the struggling, but they want all the benefits. Or they want to take benefits away from other people that are actually deserving of it. Because I find it always fascinating when we have bills that are specifically written for us, and then people go, well, you can't have anything specifically for you. Well, I can name 5 different groups that you actually have things specifically for these different groups, but then you want to turn around and call me a racist. You want to turn around and call me a separatist or whatever else there is. And right now on this call, we really need to understand that delineation is okay, because delineation will actually help us protect our history, because that's what's happening and that's what's been forgotten. And so that's what the importance of this call is. I know some people talk about gatekeeping. If anybody's heard Miss T on X Spaces, she's very, very strong on it, but I understand why. Not to be too political, but we currently have someone running for president and claiming to be the first Black woman when all the evidence out there shows that she's of Indian descent. And it's like I said, it's okay, but stand on your square and be who you are and don't lie to the people, because you're trying to gain the trust of the American people for their vote. And if you start out with a lie, everything you say after that is going to be questionable and very shaky and very rocky. And right now, they're just basically telling Black people to shut up and vote for them. I'm not comfortable with it. Sorry. I'm just not a fan.
No
Yeah,
policies, no
and
promises.
historically, that's what they've done to us, tell us to shut up and vote. So
Mhm.
that's why I'm so glad that you have the Freedom Party and that Brooke is doing a super PAC, because these are the things that we need to do. These are the steps that we need to take to get to the solutions that we need to enact for our community. So, everything
Yes.
that you just said is just so spot on, and was just said so eloquently.
Thank you. Yeah, but let's get to the gatekeeping that's so important generationally. So I hope that answered your question.
Definitely. Yes. And that was perfect. And so that actually leads into the objective for this evening. So, for this evening, to the audience, today we are here to talk about the various ways that how to use this as exemption from unfriendly legislation in not only everyday life, but in the three big 360 point of view, from a world's bird's eye view point of view. So this evening, our chat is open, and we highly encourage you to ask any questions or put any comments in. Please keep it family friendly, as this is a family event. We're broadcasting this on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. So we ask that you do keep the chat respectful. But feel free to drop in any comments, suggestions, ideas, and questions. And then we have a Q&A that we'll do towards the end, and we'll answer specific questions. So now the specific objective for this evening is to bring the descendant class to the table and help them understand what it means to be federally and constitutionally protected, and what are those differences and how do those differences affect them. So from now on, starting today, you now know that as a descendant of U.S. chattel slaves, you are exempt from unfriendly legislation, and you do not have to take that. All right. And so for the next 10 minutes on our agenda, we're actually going to talk about how are we exempt and the 14th Amendment legislation, and do we have a part, are we able to show that on the screen?
I'm sorry, I'm on mute. Which one did you want me to share, Brooke? I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. There was a screenshot on the email right before we went live.
Yeah, the screenshot.
Actually, yeah.
On the press kit?
Yes, ma'am. The email right before we went live about the update to the agenda.
Oh, okay. Do you want me to share the agenda?
No, not the agenda, just the screenshot if possible.
Okay.
My apologies.
I don't know if I don't know if I have that, or
No?
maybe I'm confused. I'm sorry.
Well, that's okay. I'm gonna find it.
Okay. And if you pop it in, I will share it. But I do have the I have the about the event. Is that what you're looking for?
No, that's okay. I'll just send it to you in the back channels.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yes.
Heller BTV, baby. Live and direct.
Look,
Go.
it's worth the wait. I know everybody's like bated breath, but I'll talk while you guys do that. But I know a lot of people talk about unfriendly laws, and you think, what do you mean unfriendly? And those would be laws that actually go against us. So we can think about stop and frisk. That would be considered an unfriendly law because it was very specific towards a particular demographic, according to the way they looked, how they dressed, how maybe they sounded. If they were in groups of more than 3 individuals, they wanted to stop them and actually violate their Fourth Amendment right without really any just cause. So that would just be a short example of something that would be considered an unfriendly law in that respect, just to put it in perspective.
So just thinking back, so then that would include the Jim Crow laws. That would include redlining.
Yeah.
Which ones, I guess, I mean, besides walking while black, that was one that was real.
Profiling. The 1994 crime bill, that was a complete profiling type bill because it was, again, for a specific demographic of people. It was not meant for anybody else. Yeah. We were called, what, animals and predators, super predators, actually. That was the term. We were considered super predators. That would be considered an unfriendly law. But again, it's one of those things we're not really told what rights we have. And they always made that joke, if you want to hide anything from a Black person, put it in a book, because they don't read. And it's not that we don't read, it's just that things have been hidden in plain sight. And we are loving people. We would just not think that anybody would be that hateful towards us because we're not hateful towards others, right? If you're not a combative person, why would you think people are going to be combative against you? You would think they would be honest with you, but that's just not how our government's operated.
Well, let me say we were a instinctually loving people. I'm going to try to talk us down out of that.
Okay.
So I have this, but I don't know. Can you guys see this?
We got to make it a little bit bigger. Can we increase the size?
A lot bit bigger. I'm gonna have to put
I know,
on
a lot bigger, right? Hold on. You know what? Let me try something else. Look, I gotta put on like 2 pairs of glasses to see that. Blinder these eyes are. I'm gonna try to add it in as a overlay, and then it'll be big on the
Yeah, yeah.
screen. So yeah, let
Okay.
me do that. That'll be a little bit better. I'm like, I cannot see that. Like, can you
Let's
guys see
think of
that?
some current unfriendly laws would be Chicago, for example, where they brought in people illegally, specifically to the Black neighborhoods, and used resources and told those Black individuals there that they didn't have those resources. But then they turned around and the federal government actually provided for those individuals. So that too can be considered an unfriendly law because it was specific. It wasn't like these individuals came here and they were just dispersed all over Illinois. Now, if they were just dispersed all over Illinois, that's totally different, right? Because that means it affected everybody's neighborhood, but they didn't do that. They specifically targeted the Black neighborhoods. And I'm just Chicago for an example of what would be considered unfriendly, and that should trigger, the federal government and to say, hey, that's unfriendly. You can't do that to us. Yeah.
And so, I hear that, and then what I see is it seems like all the unfriendly laws are actually meant for us and not to protect us. So, it's going to be a huge, uphill battle for us
Mhm.
to really make this stick, make it be heard and make it stick.
Right.
So, I just feel like I don't know, like what can we do? I know this is the start of it.
This is the
The
start.
founder redemption party, it's the start of it.
Yeah.
It's the start to give us a voice,
Yes.
to really direct it to our community. So I do let me see if I can get this up, Brooke. Look. So is
Okay.
that good? I
Yeah,
know it
I
kind
can
of
see it.
does that, but it's the overlay. It's a little bit better.
Yes. You
Okay.
can see it.
Do you want me to read this? Let me see
Sure.
if I can make this way. And then I'm trying to get all three of us. Let me see. Yeah, there we go. Get
There
me
we
off the screen. There
go.
we go. So Students for Fair Admission Inc. versus the President and Fellows of Harvard College. Thomas J. concurring. The court thus made clear that the 14th Amendment's equality guarantee applied to members of all races, including Asian Americans, ensuring all citizens equal treatment under the law. 7 years later, the court relied on the slaughterhouse view to conclude that the words of the 14th Amendment contain a necessary implication of a positive immunity or right most valuable to the colored race, the right to exemption from unfriendly legislation against them distinctively as colored. Strouder versus West Virginia, you'll see the penal code there. The court thus found that the 14th Amendment banned expresses racial classifications no matter the race affected because these classifications are a stimulant to race prejudice. I id at all right. And then similar statements appeared in other cases decided around that time. See Virginia versus Rives, 100 US 313 318 1880. The plain objective of these statutes enacted to enforce the 14th Amendment and as of the Constitution which authorized them was placed was to place the colored race in respect of civil rights upon a level with whites. They made the rights and responsibilities civil, criminal. Oh man, hold on. Oh, it's just getting good, right? Really getting good. This is great. I never heard this
Right.
before. I
Right.
never saw this before, so I am very happy to see this. I'm
Right.
just gonna pull it up on my screen and then I'm gonna read the rest of it.
Okay.
Because I can see it over here. All right. Okay. All right. Okay, so let's start over from the bottom, right?
Mhm.
So we can have a good read on it. So similar statements appeared in other cases decided around that time. See Virginia versus Rives, 100 US 313 318 in 1880. The plain objective of these statutes, enacted to enforce the 14th Amendment as of the Constitution, which authorized them, was to place the colored race in respect of civil rights upon a level with whites. They made the rights and responsibilities, civil and criminal, of the two races exactly the same. Ex parte, Virginia 100 US 339, 344-345 of 1880.
Yeah.
So that concludes it.
Yeah.
So
So we were supposed to be equals. Truly, truly equals. And what ended up happening is, as Brooke had mentioned before, with the Jim Crow laws and the different Black Code laws in various states, they did not uphold that. Yeah.
I would say in all states they did not uphold that statute, that court case precedent that was set by the 14th Amendment. I would say across this entire nation, it's not upheld. I mean, we can even look as recently as Sonia Massey being murdered in her living room by a police officer when she
Mhm.
was clearly, like, I don't even have to say what she was. She was in her house. She called them for help.
Yeah.
She went to get a pot of water that they asked her to get, and they killed her.
Yeah.
Okay. To this point right now, that officer, I believe, is in some type of thing with his union to be reinstated or something. Um, so
I
he's
think
trying to fight.
they're refusing
Yeah.
to reinstate him, but they're fighting it. Does that make
Yeah, they're
sense?
fighting it. Yeah.
They're fighting to try to keep him in. And
Okay.
somebody actually made the point, what if he did not need to be out on patrol? There may have been something in his past record. And that's been happening a lot. The police officers are moved around. If they do something in California,
Yes.
they can be moved to like Tennessee or South Carolina. And unfortunately, their record doesn't go with them, which makes absolutely no sense ever.
Right.
Because they're in a field that's very it can be very dangerous to civilians if we
Right.
don't know we're dealing with unstable people.
Right.
It's not an easy
Mhm.
job. I don't want
Right.
people out there thinking, down with the police. I have a police officer that's a relative of mine and another one that was a sheriff that actually retired earlier this year. So I don't want to see police officers getting hurt. And I know for the majority of the police officers out there, they want to be in the community and work with the community. They do not want to be a liability to the community.
And even in that case, a lot of officers are obviously speaking out against that
Yes.
officer's
Oh
actions.
yeah. Most
Um,
most definitely.
and then even more recently, another thing that happened, I don't know if you guys saw it. There was a black man who was double parked the wrong way on the street, and I guess he was waiting for his girlfriend or whoever to come out. And the police pulled up to him and basically pulled him out his car. The when they handcuffed him, punched him in his face. He's kind of like a big guy. I don't know if you guys didn't see it going
I
around.
think
Yeah,
I
they.
saw that one. It
Mhm.
was like two of them.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Saw that.
Yes. So I say that to say, like, this is just obviously this has been going on. I mean, we can look back at so many different examples in history between George Floyd, going back to Trayvon Martin, Tamir Rice, just all the names, all the names, Breonna Taylor, all the names. So,
Yeah.
that's why you guys, this is so important. And that's why we're doing that today on Black August. This is Black August. This is a time for us to be really studying our history, knowing
Yeah.
who we are, getting in touch with who we are, really giving that credit up to the freedom fighters and really, lifting them up at this time right now. This is a crucial time of year for us. August is very, symbolic to Black Americans for so many different reasons. So I just want you guys to understand why we're doing this. And what this is for. So if you guys have questions for us, please put the questions in the audience. I'm going to go ahead and give some people out here a shout out because we do got some people in the audience and they're watching us. So let's give them a shout out. Let's get the crowd involved. And then we can move right along with the discussion. So we got Grizzly Bear. I love that in the audience. He's a freedman. I can see that in his profile picture. Yay. He said he was finally first, and he was. He was sitting in there waiting, and thank you so much. I appreciate you. You're probably the one that subscribed to the channel because I just got a new subscription, so I appreciate that. And we got By Our Blood, the super PAC. This is the super PAC, guys, that we need to support with. Make sure we support with that. This is the thing for the this is the raise the money. So I'm going to share that on the screen too soon. I want you guys to please hit this. We want to raise as many funds as we can for the Freedom Party so we can make sure that we're doing everything we can. We got Cool Colas in the building, pro Black Blur King. Thank you so much for being in the building, King. You know what I mean? Peace to you. We always support each other. And let's see, we have new page. Thank you, Queen, for coming through. Queen's up to you. You know what I'm saying? Queen's up, Queen's up. And let's see, we got Milo in the building. He said this is dynamic. Thank you so much, Milo. I want you guys to put some questions in the you just put your comments, your questions, whatever you want to say, whatever you know what you're feeling, what your ideas. Are you voting? Are you guys going to vote? What's your thoughts? What do you guys think? And you know what? I probably can have people call in. So let me I'm gonna let you guys cook a little bit and let me see if I can get the call-in number going. And then maybe we can get some kings and queens to call in and they can give us, you know, a little bit insight of what they're feeling and what they think. Okay.
All right. Sounds good.
All right. I'm gonna put myself on mute for a minute while I do that.
Okay. So Shaq.
Yeah.
Tell us about in your I know you do have a legal background, and then from a party perspective, tell us the difference between ethnicity versus race for those two different audiences.
Yes. So from what I've studied and what I'm learning, because I'm always constantly learning, because there's been such a, I want to say, a larger voice than even when I was growing up about race and ethnicity. You know, I grew up in the time where Jesse Jackson had the Rainbow Coalition, and where an African American came along, and we were, you know, tied to the Pan-African movement from Marcus Garvey and different individuals of, you know, that background. But now race is so important, and race is a construct, right? It's not really your ethnicity. Now, when we think about ethnicity, we'll use our European counterparts. For example, German is an ethnicity from a specific country or region. Now, when it comes to Black Americans, and a lot of times people go, why can't you just be Americans? Why do you have to be Black Americans? Because there needs to be a distinction. Okay. That's why there are many ethnicities that make us us. For example, in my background, I've got Jewish, I've got British, I've got African, I've got Cherokee Indian, Blackfoot Indian, Geechee, you know, Jewish is in there too. I mean, there's just a lot. I'm like a whole melting pot of a person with all of these different ethnicities, right? So that's where race comes into play, right? They just want to call me Black. Black would be considered a race, not an ethnicity. Now, I could be classified as Negro, right? Negro is a classification. It still isn't a specific ethnicity. And so that's where, you know, not trying to pile on, but that's where the OMB is really important, you know, coming up for this census, because that is really going to determine the lineage base that we need to make our cause for reparations, because they've already said reparations has to be lineage based, not race based. And that's why it is so important to understand ethnicity and race and what the differences are. I hope I answered your question. I know it was kind of like a long way around, but
no, yes, that was perfect. So then, so I actually you said something that actually threw me off a little bit, because I thought Negro was an ethnicity.
It can be, but you
Okay.
also have mulatto. Do you know what I'm saying? So you've got Negro, you've got mulatto. Again, you've got more than one that covers individuals, but where is your ethnical distinction, right? Are you going to be distinct and ethnically under Negro or mulatto? You can be one or the other, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Or
There's the distinction.
let's say your ancestors within your bloodline,
Right.
you can
We're Negro.
find,
Right.
right, Negro and mulatto.
Mhm.
And so, and I guess to the audience, I'd really like to really bring home the fact that those descendants of US chattel slaves, when you think about what is what is white, what is whiteness, those
Mhm.
white people are racially white, but their ethnicity is Ukrainian, Yugoslavian, Russian,
Mhm. Right.
all those different European countries, right? And so
Mhm.
the greatest bamboozle, right, for us as human beings is that all of the various colonizers that came to the United States, they intermingled with the indigenous Americans and created a new ethnicity. That
Right.
the baby that they created was
Right.
given an ethnicity of a color. So Negro
Right.
is a color, a
Mhm.
mulatto is a
They
color,
color, yeah.
Creole is a color. So
Mhm.
all of these colonizers came here and created a race of people that they
Mhm.
ethnically named a color.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Like a
Yeah.
reclassification. Like it was a whole genocide
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
undercover.
So it was a reclassification, yes. And I wanted to touch on that, Queen, because I actually spoke on that on the last show that we were on.
Oh, okay.
And I want to say that you know, there's a lot of different things that people will identify themselves in our
Mhm.
community. And that's because from the inception, we've been being reclassified. When the Europeans got here, and we can just go back and start with Christopher Columbus, since that's who they love to start with. When he came, just to this continent, who he found is who is us. So when he described those people in his journal, they were us. Okay. So, number one, we're American because we're indigenous to this land.
Mm-hmm.
So we're American, and then to take it a step further, when they came, obviously we were called American Indian. There's so many things. If you go back to your genealogy, um, and look through the census, and you can date this back to like the 1860 census, the 1850 census. You'll see that our ancestors were classified as American Indian.
Mm-hmm.
That's who we were. We were American Indians when they came here. Now, there's different ambiguity about that. Were we, those American Indians, or we just, were indigenous to this land? Um, you know, you know, we're the mound builders of this land. So when you go to places like Mississippi and you see that we are the flourishing community, the indigenous community there, we built those mounds. So it's no doubt in my mind that we were here when they got here. They seen it, and they didn't like it, and they wanted to, Christianize us, civilize us, whatever they want to call it. They wanted to take the land and make it their own. So this is what they had to do to us. So
Yeah.
all these reclassifications, in my opinion, is one of the hugest issues that we have as the Black community. And I think it's probably one of our biggest curses too, because we sit here and infight about that. We sit here and we infight about are you a Moor? Are you a Hebrew Israelite? Are you a American Indian? Are you a Native American? And I won't say that because we never were that. We're American Indian. We're the native people to this land before they came here. We were here. They are
Yep.
a product of us in the conquistador, and from the ones from Siberia coming over later on after us. So all of that's documented in history. So I want to make that clear. So all of these classifications, now this is our time. We're in 2024. This is Black Americans' time to classify themselves of what they deem themselves necessary. Now, you're going to have people who have different schools of thought, who were raised in different schools of thought. You're going to have Moors. You're going to have people, Hebrew Israelites. You're going to have nations of gods and earth. You're going to have, all of these different backgrounds and nationalities that people will claim in this community. American Indians, some of them were claiming back to their roots, to their genealogy. And guess what? Whatever you find for yourself that works for you and your family, that's helping you be a better citizen and helping your family be better for the community is what I want you to identify yourself as. Because at the end of the day, we are all still one Black American family that is indigenous here. Yes, some were brought here and they amalgamated with us. And now we are foundational Black Americans who built this country, who have never been paid for it. We've went through shadow slavery. We went through Jim Crow. We went through segregation. We went through redlining. We go through unfriendly laws that are being placed on us when we're supposed to be exempt from them. And this is where we stand today in 2024 with two candidates that neither one of them have promised a damn thing to us. And this is why we have Dr. Hashaki Nichols on this platform tonight, the founder of Redemption Party. We got Brooke Sinclair, the founder of the Super PAC for Black Americans, and we are trying to get this thing going. And we need the family's help. I don't care what you identify as. I need you to come together right now and get on this platform, donate, speak your mind, call in. The number is 302-492-7722. We want to hear from you. We want to know your thoughts. Are you voting? What are your thoughts about these candidates? Okay. So these are the things that I want us to be clear as a family. All right. Now I know I went off on that, but I get very passionate
It was
about that
good. It
because
was fire. I like it.
it's a pen genocide that they did on us. They did it with a swift of a pen. And
Yeah.
you can
Yeah.
trace it back through the census. And this is why genealogy is so damn important. I'm gonna tell
Yes.
you right
Yes.
now, right now, do your genealogy, you people. Please,
Mm-hmm.
you see these people on here? Do it. Do your genealogy. Go
Yeah.
find out who you really are.
Yeah.
Find out where you trace back to. Find out if one of your ancestors did come off of the slave ship.
Yeah. Yeah. My
Just
dad,
go
he
do the
actually,
research. Go
yeah,
ahead.
my dad
Thank you.
actually did it for my sister and I when I was in my early 20s. And we didn't
Yeah.
ask him to do it. He just did it on his own. And he traced our family back at that time over 150 years to the family that owned our family. So my maiden name, Wright, is a slave name. It is directly from the plantation. So he traced our genealogy all the way back. He was like, this is where we started, and all of the families in between, the marriages, the cousins. I mean, I still have his dot matrix printout of it. You know, I'm
Oh.
trying to get him to revive that computer. I'm like, Dad, we really need this in digital format. The dot matrix thing, on the blue
Nothing
light
beats that.
now fade. But I'm just so grateful that he did that. And then I'm going to be working with April Showers as well, because at least I have some of the names in the genealogy, because all you need is just a few names and maybe just particular references and dates, and it will fill in everything else up
Yeah.
until, where I'm at right now, including my children. So yes, genealogy is really important, and it's really important because they've already told us reparations cannot
Right.
be race based. It has to be lineage based. So thank you,
Right.
because we're gonna kick down the whole door, the
Yes.
whole thing. We're
And
ready to
this
kick
is
that
what
down.
we're fighting for, guys. That we're fighting for. It's
Yeah,
no tangibles, no vote. I don't know. You guys watch
yeah,
BTV. I have said it before.
yeah.
I am not voting this year. I am not voting. Neither one of those candidates have offered nothing to Black Americans. No matter who they put in there, all of us are going to be in the same condition. We might get worse. We ain't going to get no better because they ain't giving us nothing anyway. So we need our reparations. We need an anti-hate crime bill, and we need our protected class status, and we need to have that. And as a basis, our right to delineate and to be able to fight for ourselves and advocate for ourselves. And, however far we have to take that, if we have to take that to a level of, hey, we need to separate, that's fine. Whatever. I'm down for it because if you ask me, we were a lot better off when we were separate, and that's not to be mean, hateful, spiteful. But when we actually cared for each other and we treated each other with respect. We uplifted each other, we loved each other, we empowered each other, and we supported each other. Now, I just spelled out rules. Those are my royalty rules, and that's how I expect us to act to each other. And that's what we used to do. And I need us to get back to what we're used to.
Yeah.
The code.
Yeah. And, with Latin communities, they are all together in their specific communities and nobody really says anything about it. No one gives them any flack for it. They're always like, wow, you guys are so powerful as a community. Yeah, because they work strong in numbers and they're allowed. Whenever we try to get together, somebody's, the FBI is waiting to mess it up. I'm not even saying it's us, it's the FBI. Okay.
Look, even the three of us right now, they might come. Look, the three of us right now. Look, let me look out the window.
Okay. Whenever we try to pull something together, they are right there to just know, because that's their biggest fear is Negro unity. They said it.
And I seen a brother, I think his name is Hawk Newsom. I saw him, and I don't know if it was him organizing it or he just was like sharing it, but I saw him with a group of brothers, young brothers and some sisters in there that had their weapons ready. They were in formation and they was ready for deployment. And like, this is what we need. And this is to say, be prepared. This is to tell our community, be prepared. This is not inciting anything, but we need to be prepared because historically we are the target. And if we think that any of this, that the climate, that this political climate it is right now, if we think that this is going to go off unhinged in November, we got another thing coming to us. So all of this just, partying and all that, it needs to get put to the side and we need to start preparing and organizing and like getting ourselves prepared, like, because we might have to go to war. We don't know. We don't know what's going to happen.
Exactly. I mean, I shared with my city. Now, everybody there is not predominantly Black, but I let the chief of police know, like, look, it's about to go down. You better get this city prepared. You better make sure your neighbors and kind and the cities around you are prepared. Because when it all goes down, it's going to be too late. Right? So you need to make sure who has the water. What does the water system look like? What does the electrical system look like? If the electricity goes down, what's our backup? Right? Because the city of Roseland is located right next door to Notre Dame, Indiana, as well as South Bend, Indiana. For a lot of people, they don't realize that Notre Dame, yes, it's located in South Bend, but the Vatican actually owns that land. So when you are on Notre Dame soil, technically you're in Rome. You're not even in America. I know it sounds crazy, but those are the facts. That's how they roll over there. Okay. Yeah, get caught up in something over there. They have a whole different set of laws. Okay.
Get caught playing in their face.
Look, so I was like, Roseland is a small town, but be prepared. But, if anybody watches this video again, I'm not kidding. Know your neighbors. Know the city next door. Know your exit plan. Because guess what? They are not planning to be kind. This next election, we might not even have one. Right. Because the way to get her installed is to do this. Okay, we'll have an election. And 2 weeks before the election, be like, we got to suspend the election. We're at war. Just like they did with FDR. And they suspended the election and he stayed in for another term. Okay, wow. That is the only way to truly install her without actually having an election or an uproar, because they do not want to put people under martial law, because that'll just make people angry. You think January 6th was bad? I'm just telling you, Bubba, who can skin a buck and run a shot line, and what I'm talking about, will be in their face, 6'4" and not having it. Okay,
now look here.
Listen, Dr. Hashaki just said a word, y'all. If y'all ain't hear the good doctor, I'm telling y'all better play that back. She just said a word in here. Y'all better listen. Y'all better listen to what. Did you hear what she just said about that election? Yeah. Listen to what she just said, and listen. This is bookmarked. You just said that.
Yeah.
Now we're going to see what happens.
That's the only way I can see. Because I'm like, you're not Black, but you're playing black. In every video we found, you have stated that you are an Indian. You have Indian descent. We have you on record everywhere.
But not only that, so
for
she's
you.
of Indian descent, and I'm going to break it down a little bit further. Her mother is Indian. Now, her father was born in Jamaica.
Yes.
But he is, I'm hearing a lot that he's of Indian and half Irish descent. And they were also slave owners. So her great grandparents were slave owners in Jamaica. They were super slave owners because they owned over 1,000 slaves in Jamaica.
Right. Yes.
They were paid millions of dollars for that. And so that's how her father, he's a prominent economist in Jamaica. And so this is why I also want to point out this delineation, because she's not a Black American.
No.
Now, you can call her Black by race. Okay, yeah, she's melanated. She's a woman of color, whatever. I don't even like that term, but whatever.
Yeah.
You can say whatever you want. She's melanated. I'll rather prefer to use that. But she's not a Black American, and that's where delineation counts. That's where it matters.
Yes.
She's not a Black American, and like in the words of Kendrick Lamar, she's not like us, and we need to really understand that. And people who can't understand that, who will criticize this video and say whatever you will, you can do that, because my feelings don't hurt easily. But she's not like us. She's not a Black American. She does not have our interest in heart. She is East Indian. Now, let's take a look at her actions and her behaviors real quick, family. At her rally with Megan Thee Stallion, Quavo, and whoever, when she gets in a room with Black people, she is shucking and jiving and doing everything she can, eating collard greens and freaking, saying, oh, my collard. And first of all, I heard she washes her collard greens, and I didn't hear, she said it out her mouth. She washes them in a tub, and that's just right there off the bat. I could tell she's not Black American just from hearing that. So that's number one. Number two, every time she has to do something with Black Americans, it's about something disrespectful. It's something being disrespectful to our community, twerking or showing us in a negative light, twerking, talking jive, and they not like us. No, you're not like us. So you shouldn't even be saying that to Taraji P. Henson, because you're the one that's not like us.
Yes.
So, and then now let's look. Now she was on the thing with there's a comedian named Mendy. She's an East comedian, East Indian comedian. And Kamala was on a show with her, and they were cooking their East Indian dishes.
Yes.
And talking about their traditions in East India and how she grew up and all this and that. So listen, stop playing it both ways.
She also pointed out, she said, you're Indian and we're so proud of you running for vice president.
Yes. She agreed with her. She didn't correct her.
He was like, you look like some of my relatives. She totally agreed with her. There was no pushback.
And then I have to debunk one other thing. Just because somebody attends a HBCU, people, does not mean they're a Black person or a Black American or anything. Anyone can attend a HBCU. I actually put some stats up the other day. The stats on attendance is about 76% Black. It's about 11% white, with about like 2 or 3, 4% Asian and Native American. So that is not a requirement. Anyone can go to the HBCU.
Yes.
So stop saying, oh, she went to a HBCU. You know how stupid you sound saying that. I mean, I'm just saying.
But to your point, what she's doing is stolen valor. If you think about it in that way, it's stolen valor, because she's saying she's Black. She's not Black, right? And she's trying to run for the highest office in the land. Why are you stealing valor when you don't need to? You can be of Indian descent and be one of the first of Indian descent to run for president of the United States. Why are you stealing valor? And it's stuff like that I want to go, okay, would this be considered an unfriendly law? Because she's lied. First of all, you've lied about your ethnicity. There's nothing on your birth certificate that ties you to being a Black American. And on top of that, you are forcing us to accept it. And you're stealing valor. So, that's the way I see it. I want to build an argument against it. I mean, she is an attorney. But it's like, yeah, I want to build an argument against you because either you, one way or the other, you're going to have to fess up to this, because there are no videos that ever say that you're Black, except for the fact that, oh, I'm ready for vice president, I'm Black now. No, it doesn't work that way. Sorry. Right. Is there Black on your application? You know what I mean? Was it even on your application from your HBCU that you said that you were Black?
What did she put on there?
I mean, we need something.
Yeah.
That's a good
When did
question.
you switch up? Because you were of Indian descent when you were the DA, when you ran for Senate, and when you made your vice president announcement. You were Indian. Period.
Ooh, Cola's donated. Yay.
Yay,
thank you, brother. Thank you, brother.
it.
That's my yo. You guys need to go follow my boy Cool Colas. He is the pro Black blurred king. This man is brilliant. He writes comic books. He writes regular books. He breaks down all types of media. He points out all the racist crap that goes on in media. He comes up with different terms to name it. So he's very instrumental in progressing our community forward. And I really appreciate everything that he does and supporting this platform. So thank you so much for donating, King. I really appreciate that. And then he was saying that he used to live in South Bend, not far away. He said he had to travel there for work, and it doesn't surprise him, I guess, about the Notre Dame thing.
Yeah.
That's what we were talking about. Grizzly LeBear said a country boy will survive.
Yeah, he will. Look, scan a bug right hotline now.
Bubba. I cannot. Cool Cola said he hates the term people color. It's a term of Black erasure. It is, and I was mad at myself for using. I don't normally use that term, but I guess I was using it in the spirit of Kamala. Because the hell, I mean, it's just crazy. But you know, and then someone said, "Oh, that's you." Brooke said that she's not a colleague; she's a colonizer. Yes, that's true. And then Cool Colas that said that she makes her collard greens in the bathtub. That's disgusting.
And you know what? I live in Georgia, and people make collard greens, and they're not necessarily Black. So
yeah, I mean everyone. Yeah, that's not like a requirement.
Yeah, no. Oh, what was the last one? I saw you pull up.
Grizzly LeBear. We got a few new listeners. Can you do a little room reset explaining exemption from Unfriendly? Yes. Brooke, I'm going to let you take it away. Yep. Thank you. You're keeping us on point, Grizzly LeBear.
I know, right?
You need to come over here and be my producer. Shoot, you know this is technical Teller BTV. You know, we need all the hands on deck. All right, go ahead, family.
Yes, so if you're just coming in, you're coming into the session that I'm Black American. Excuse me, and I'm exempt from unfriendly legislation. In the 2023 Supreme Court legislation for students for fair admissions, the famously affirmative action case, the Supreme Court reminded us that the descendants of U.S. chattel slaves, more specifically the descendants of the colored Union soldiers, are actually exempt from unfriendly legislation, always have been and always will be. We were exempt from the Black codes, exempt from Jim Crow laws, exempt from redlining. And yet these colonizers who have come from all the many nations of the world, Ireland, Spain, Italy, and so many more, have come and they enjoy the American dream of taking our rights, keeping our rights from us, taking our rights and our privileges, and living high on the hog as slave owners and colonizers. And so that welcome to joining us this evening. And that's where you came in. We were just talking about how are you exempt in various ways that the exemptions can be used, the pitfalls and the stumbling blocks. And so now actually we're getting ready to go into what we can do with that exemption. And Dr. Shack, can you tell me?
Brilliant.
Brilliant. Now.
Right. Okay.
Yes. So there are some things that we can do. And one of the things that we're doing right now is we're educating you on the right? We're educating you on that part of the 14th Amendment, because I think it was a big deal when affirmative action got, dismantled, as some would say. Now, here's the thing. It actually now requires people to go to college based on their merit. So guess what, all the C students that got to pay their way in and just kind of ride it in, you don't get to ride it in anymore, because now it's based on merit. Now that A student from Harlem, who would be their first person to go to college, has actually more of a chance now against a C student that can pay their way in. So you've kind of kicked down that door, but in them kicking down that door, that's where we got to see that descent of the 14th Amendment and really flushing out and showing how we are a protected class under the 14th Amendment. So that's the first thing that we're doing. And the next thing is engaging in advocacy and activism. Again, what we're doing right now, we're rallying the troops. So please continue to share this, because just like reparations, the more people that we share this with and we advocate for it, they're going to see, oh, you guys are exempt from unfriendly laws. Well, this happened to me here, and there's an unfriendly law over there, and stop and frisk. That is an unfriendly law because it specifically targeted one group of people over another. So again, things that have been targeted against us unfairly, that is an unfriendly law. And then, of course, utilizing the legal avenues that we have. Unfortunately, there have been organizations developed, and they were supposed to help us, like the Black Caucus, like the NAACP. And I know everybody's shaking their head and they're about to break their neck.
I mean, it's like a spin the wheel
for us.
Now we know good and well after he came out with that statement, talk about we don't want no reparations.
Good luck.
Bro, that's not what that don't represent us.
No, they're not our friends. So those are not the people.
Right.
Those are not the
people
to utilize legal avenues. We have a new group, and we're a little bit ragtag, but we got Queen Bee. We have, Brooke, the founder of the Blood Pack. You've got the Redemption Party. And there are even other people out there advocating on X and in different spaces and places. And the way you will know us, because there's one unity code that we have. And you're going to hear it in the language, because you're going to hear reparations. You're going to hear unfriendly laws. You're going to start to hear these buzzwords. And then that's going to actually create, in my opinion, a new advocacy group that will be gate kept. Okay. So when the other people are coming around, especially, some people, I forget what his name is. He's like an ambulance chaser. I think his name's Ben Crump.
Oh, yeah.
That guy. Yeah. No, he's not going to help us. Please don't mention his name. Please don't bring him up. I don't want him near this at all. I don't want his fingerprints on it. Yes, I am a paralegal by trade. I'm just an attorney without a license. And it is better for us to do this pro se, which means we go forth, we put together the legislation that we want, we present it to Congress, and we put our boots on their necks till they give us what we want. Because this is lineage based, they've caused harm, they've not done their job since the 38th Congress under the 9th Amendment, which actually ties into the 14th Amendment, because that amendment, December 1865, gave us the start to our protections. The 14th Amendment just affirms those protections. So we are codified in law, just so everybody knows, since 1865. And then, of course,
go ahead, Brooke.
Can we do that one more time? Yeah.
You want to do it one more time? I know I'm talking fast. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Which
part? Say that one more again, please. I'm so sorry.
You want to So the Congress, 38th Congress, under the 9th Amendment, December 1865, they put into place protections for freed slaves that they would have recourse against being treated unfairly. Now, at the time, they did have fines that could be listed. They did have that people could be arrested for disproportionately harming freed slaves. So, even though the repercussions or the consequences did not seem very egregious for those that did harm freed slaves, there is yet and still some form of restitution and protection in place. But because slaves didn't know that and they didn't know how to actually exercise that law, it fell flat. If you
And a
don't
lot of
know that you have a protection, how can you exercise it?
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
that's I
Yeah.
mean that's sad, and
Mhm.
it's really like diabolical on the
Mhm.
part of, I mean, we
Oh,
already know they're diabolical, but
yeah.
I mean, and then I feel like we we got to 2024 and it took us this long for you to come along, you guys to come along. And
Yeah.
thank God for you guys,
There's no
better late than
timing.
never. Right,
Yeah.
no time like the present, but it's
Mhm.
just sad that it took us this long to really come to our senses about this, and I
Yeah.
mean, even really, like, looking at through, the Black resistance and, like, looking at some of the other leaders, I mean, I'm just wondering why we didn't take this more heed to this and use this, and I also wanna ask a question.
Mhm.
I wanna ask this could, Brooke or, Dr. Shack could answer this. Um, could we use what Brooke, is trying to teach everyone about the, hate crimes and the genocide at the
Mhm.
International Crimes Court? Is this something that we can use, Dr. Shack,
Mhm.
to build a case up,
Yes. Yes,
against,
we could.
against, I guess,
The
the government? I don't
Irishman?
know if that's
Yes,
who it's against,
because
or
in essence, they failed in their fiduciary duty. And a
yes.
lot of people, that's a weird word, but
They're
fiduciary,
in violation of the amendment. They're in
right,
violation of the law right now.
exactly. And basically, fiduciary means that you have a standard of care that you have to give to individuals. It's a standard of care and it's level. And if you are not providing that and you are responsible for it, you failed in your duties and responsibilities. So a lot of times, unfortunately, our white counterparts are like, it's not my fault. You're right. It's not your fault. It was actually the government's job to intervene to ensure the safety of freed slaves and their descendants. They failed in their job, plain and simple. And so now that we have evidence that they failed in their duties, we also have case law. We also have laws that are on the books. We can go to the international court and say, okay, the US government has failed in their duties and responsibilities. This is the restitution we seek. I've actually drafted legislation for reparations that includes an anti-Black hate crime bill. And so I've let a few people see it and look at it. I'm like, yeah, it's definitely bare bones, because I've got the outline of what needs to be included, right? Because we want cash payments and we want restorative justice in a particular way, right? But I need input from other scholars, because this is not about doing another study. No, this is about putting forth the legislation to say, okay, at the lineage based level, here's our document, and you're going to give us reparations. This is not a question of can we have it. No, you're going to do this because you failed in your responsibilities, government. And a lot of people say, well, we didn't know. You know now. Okay. Take it all in and give me and our other lineage based brothers and sisters what they're owed, period. And we're not going to have this conversation with you too much longer, because I've seen some people, to your point, Queen Bee, they're just waiting for the election to come and like, we just gonna sit back and let it burn. Don't call me. Do not call me. Okay. I'm gonna be at home watching it burn down, because you're always calling me when you need something. But when
Yeah.
I'm ready to get what I'm supposed to have, I'm like that side chick.
Disappear.
You're like, I'll
Right.
get you in a minute, baby. No, We're not doing that anymore. I know I'm not going to be your wife, and that's cool. We don't have to be married, but you're going to give me what you owe me. Okay?
Right.
You
I
going to give
love
me
the way you put that. Get him, Dr. Shack. Get him, Dr. Shack.
look. It's okay.
I love that.
Now, I don't want to take us too much to take us out of time. I want to, keep us within a matter of time. Before we move on to the Q&A, talking about voting without fear,
Right.
let's talk about, since finding out about being exempt, Dr. Shack, have you used the exemption in anything real life experience, or anything that our audience might be able to relate with?
Right. I haven't had to use it yet.
Okay.
But I do have it in my pocket. And what I'm trying to do is, with the redemption party, make sure that they are aware of their protections within the law, especially being a small city. As I stated before, we have gone through a pandemic, which some people call a plandemic. We have gone through a situation where we were locked down. And I talked to the chief of police and I explained to him, look, make sure that people in the city know that if something like that happens, you're not being locked down. You're not going to have your civil rights circumvented by the federal government just because they're like, hey, we need to all lock down. Not here, not in this city, right? And so what that does is that's an exercise. Those individuals are white, but they also have individuals in that city that are Black. And sure to share that with them. To, if anybody comes against you and says you have to do this, you can say, you know what, that's an unfriendly law. And I'm exempt from all unfriendly laws. And they'll just kind of look at you like, huh, look it up. It's okay.
Well, you definitely have to tell that to the police, because they don't even know the law. They just, especially when it comes to us, even if they do know it, they just throw it all out the window, and they just assault us and violate us at every turn they can.
Which is why I spoke
yes,
specifically to my chief of police. And we had a very
yes.
good, candid conversation. And he's on my side with it.
That's
And
great,
he
Queen. I
understands
love the work
where
you're
I'm coming from.
doing.
Yes,
I
yes,
love
ma'am.
the work you're doing in Foundation Freedom
Yeah.
Party. So listen, we have some comments and we have
Okay.
questions for the great doctor. So Dr. Shaki, did you say you were a paralegal? How long did you say you've been doing work as a paralegal? I'm only asking because I'm considering getting into that work myself. Cool
Okay.
Colas.
Well, I got my paralegal degree in 2013. So it's been about 10 years, but I worked about 5 years before that as a legal assistant. So it was one of those things that I worked my way in. I started off as a media buyer in advertising, and then I did some administrative work background. So I've been also an executive assistant. So a lot of my field of work has been with numbers and documents. And I came across it having a job at Turner Broadcasting in Atlanta, and the legal bug kind of bit me, and I was like, where have you been all my life? I love this. And so I kept going until I got my paralegal degree, and then I got my bachelor's, master's, and my doctorate. So yeah, it's been about a little over
That's
10 years.
beautiful.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. So, cool Cola. So, you could probably reach out to the Queen if you have any advice or anything. I'm sure she'd be happy to guide you and give you some good resources for that.
Oh yeah.
And then we have another Terry Morgan as a question.
Miss T.
Um,
Miss T.
he said, "Hi, ladies. It's Miss T. For example, if I were to go now to, if I were to now go to the Office of New Americas for, say, rental assistance and was denied assistance because I am not a new American, would that qualify as a harm?"
So this one is a little bit tricky, but yes. The reason why is because you are foundational to this country. And they've already said that they cannot give things to any specific race. So, what does the Office of New Americas mean? Right? Is it actually of America or not? And it would actually open a can of worms for them, because it would be a violation of law. How do you have America and then make a new America within your country without the buy-in of your citizens. This wasn't done. And if it was done at the federal level, I haven't seen the actual legislation for it, but I know that Mark Carter has talked about these offices that have been set up. And so they would have to actually set up treaties if you're going to have a new America. Because we're already in America. So legally, you know what I'm saying? I'm just looking at the legal procedures of it. If you're going to have a new America, that means a whole new set of laws. That means a whole new constitution. And being that we are a class that is protected from unfriendly laws, you can make the claim that having these new Americas is a violation of your rights as an American that's foundational to this country.
I like the way that sounds. Yeah, I really do. That's great. That's great information. Really great information that the queens are putting out tonight. We got some more questions. We about to get this popping. Let's see. Grizzly Bear. You know, Grizzly Bear keeps us on point. Let's see what the good brother got to say. Could what they've done to us be considered treason since we were constitutionally protected? I say yes, but go ahead, doctor.
Yeah, we are actually in a treasonous state. Everyone that they allowed to come over here illegally, because they knew they were here illegally, and they gave them aid and comfort, and that's in the Constitution. That is the textbook definition of treason. By proxy, they've also harmed us because, like I said earlier, they specifically put these people into Black communities. That is unfriendly to us because you already told us you didn't have the resources, but then you turned around and put these people into our communities and gave them resources. So it was insult to injury. So they're culpable for it. They just don't think we're going to be strong enough to say something to them.
Yeah, I think they think that we're not strong enough to stand up to it or like follow through with it or be together long enough to fight it together. But it's a new day, and I hope they know it.
Yeah, they poked the wrong bear.
It's a new day, and I hope they know it.
I'm not the one.
Okay, we got more questions.
All right. And so, and just to say out loud, just in case anybody's not necessarily connecting the two, so that would be if we were to file treason charges, or is it genocide or treason that would file under the International Crimes Court?
Treason.
Oh, okay.
It would be treason because they violated the Constitution with what they've done, because they've weaponized these individuals. So they brought them over illegally. They gave them aid and comfort. Then they created the new Americas for them. You know what I'm saying? So if you're following this path, it's like, okay, why would you do this to your citizens if it was not to harm them? And they've caused harm all along the way. Actually, somebody posted a receipt on X where somebody had like $13,000 in food. Who needs $13,000 in food stamps and $4,000 in cash aid? I was like, look, we can all use it. I'm just saying, because Whole Foods takes EBT. I'm just
party over here.
Like that's harmful.
My ghost face.
That's harmful because you've got an American citizen whose, grandmother, great-grandmother, great-great-great has paid into the tax system. So if their babies, their descendants needed that, they can't get that.
Sure cannot.
When I was on assistance for a short time, my mom and my grandma said, don't you ever feel bad because, baby, we paid taxes.
That's right.
That if you got into a situation, you would be assisted. That's what that's for.
That's what it's for. But not to stay on it for your whole life and all that, like how some people do. And and then I want to point out about that what you just said, because I actually did a show about that a few months ago when the borders were being like basically,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
when they were coming over the border like crazy. And they were like basically putting them in all of the major cities,
The
and we know that
hotels.
we populate the major cities. And they were just doing all this stuff right in our face, putting them up in luxury hotels in New York City,
Yeah,
like you said, giving them all these resources. And it's, that's really a slap in the face to us.
it is.
And then you sit there and you do that to them,
Mhm.
with them, and then you give Asian Americans a anti-hate crime bill, but
Yep.
then you say you can't do anything specifically for Black Americans. So I'm just really confused about that. Like, why?
And guess what? We got them on record saying it, and that's
Right.
an unfriendly law. See, had we known at the time to use that at the time, we could have completely challenged all that nonsense.
Where you
All of
been
it.
all my life, Doc? This is the consultation I've been looking for.
Yeah, it's time to shut it down. They're being silly, and they know
Yep.
it,
Yeah.
and they know their time is short. That's why they're trying to rush and push stuff through and have Megan Thee Stallion dance and trying to distract us. Nobody's distracted. We are up on game, and
First
we're
of all,
not
it's so
feeling it.
embarrassing. It's like
What's that?
if I mean, some people aren't embarrassed by it. I'm super embarrassed by it. Like, that does not represent me.
No.
It doesn't represent the goodness of our community. We're a
Mm-mm.
good community. We're a wholesome community. Now, every community's got low brows and all that, but don't
I mean,
push those people out. But see, for us, they push those people out front, and they push the negative out front, and
Right.
then they never show our positivity, like people like you, Doc, that in Brooke, and people
Yeah.
like me who are
Right.
doing something positive. They don't push us
Right.
out front. So the
No.
whole world gets to see us as Megan Thee Stallion.
Oh yeah.
That's what the
Oh
whole
yeah.
world sees Black women as,
Exactly.
so it's disgusting.
It's
and actually, really quick before we, I'm not sure if we're in the Q&A officially
I
yet,
think
but
we
I want
are,
to.
because we got a lot of
Okay.
questions and I already started them, but you can go ahead and then I'll finish the questions.
Okay. I just want to say that, it's come to fruition that there is another version of post-traumatic stress, and it's called post-traumatic slave disorder.
Yes.
And
oh
so, mhm,
Dr. Joy talks about that in her work.
yes,
Yes.
okay.
yes.
I love her. Yep. She talks about
And
that.
one
Go ahead.
symptom of it is there is a subconscious fear of course, failing, right? That's normal. But then a subconscious fear of succeeding, because the KKK, when the KKK was going rampant in the 30s and
Mhm.
40s,
Mhm.
50s,
Yeah.
never held accountable,
Mhm.
never brought into for court for justice for punishment,
Mhm.
and they most often attacked the soldiers,
Mhm.
business owners, and successful persons of the community. So, it's not just by chance that they assassinated, or Dr. King got shot. It wasn't like they accidentally went after him. No, they went after all of the men, the manliest men of our community,
Mhm.
and took them from us to business owners, community leaders,
Yeah.
great fathers, and
Mhm.
that's really the type of people. So we have a subconscious fear of, yes, of course, of failing, but then succeeding.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can totally understand. It's trauma based. Um,
Mhm.
PTSD in essence, because I remember somebody saying that before. It's like, we don't have any leaders because they kill all our leaders, and we need a code. And it's like, okay, as long as unity is the code, they will never be able to destroy it. And that's our vibranium, because that's the one thing they can never destroy. It is perpetual. And it's a gift, and we can build that political wealth and capital with it, as long as we're on code with unity. Like I said, the buzzwords that we're using, the message that we're putting out, that's something that you can't break through. If you got 10,000 of us strong that are on code message, look, you can't shut it down. And that's what they fear, because see, betas fear retribution. Alphas don't
Yeah.
fear that, because alphas focus on unity. They're
Right.
not focused on
They're not
unifying.
and they're not in competition with each other.
No, no, no. Mm-mm.
Um,
It's
this
gonna
is
be all
this is so powerful. It really is, and I'm going to continue with the questions, but I'm going to real quick. I want to just say what Brooke was just saying, and to really everything that we said, and just really point out what my contribution to the community is. You know, cultural ascension process, and it's to take you from a state level of dormant to a state level of deployment as a community. Okay, so it's
yeah.
to raise your vibration, raise your level of consciousness, while also fighting in the quest for justice on earth. Okay,
Mm,
so the
yeah.
steps in it is 7 steps to help you build yourself and your community. So dormant is where we are now. Not all of us, because the 3 on this call and the people in this audience are not dormant. They're
Right.
active and they're in different state levels. But most of our community is an S state level 0. They're an
Right.
SD 0. They're dormant.
Mm-hmm,
Now,
mm-hmm.
the second state level is dedicate, delineate. So you have
Yeah.
to dedicate your time because this is
Yeah.
dedication. You got to
Yeah.
Yeah.
study. You got to dedicate your time. You have to be committed. And you have to be committed to the cause and you have to stay on code, like the good doctor just said. So that's being dedicated and then delineating. We know what that is. That's claiming our lineage,
Yes.
setting it aside, focusing on it, doing things for it like you're doing, setting up
Mm-hmm.
the foundation redemption party, setting up the super PAC, setting up
Yeah.
Teller BTV, setting up the pro black blur claim, setting up
Right.
all these things,
Yeah.
setting up everything that we have, even down to Tariq Nasheed with his hidden colors and the microphone check,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
documenting and so that's one of the steps. So I don't want to go too fast. So delineate. That's active state level to level 1. So you're at dormant. Now you need to delineate. Dedicate yourself and delineate.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now have discussions. Now it's
Mm,
time to have discussions in the community with your family, with yourself, your family, your community, the
yes.
community at large, other people that you may need as allies. You have these discussions with these people. Now you get to see who's on your side, who's not.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
It's get down or lay down right now. So you're either
Right.
down for the cause for us or you're not. And that's the only 2 ways that us Black Americans can go about this right now because we're in a critical phase right now. So
Yeah.
this is why I
Absolutely.
put this forth. Discussion, that's active state. Now you're in the active state. That's the active state level. Now you're doing something. You're active. You're
Yeah.
working. Now you need to use your discernment. Now you're having these discussions with these people. So now
Mm-hmm.
you got to put your spidey senses on and use
Mm-hmm.
the discernment for some of the language that they're using with you. See how they're
Right.
talking to you. See, that's how you can tell if they're with you or against you.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Now once you've done your discernment, you are in a high active state level. You're in the state level 3 to 4. That's a high active state. Now, we're getting to documenting because we didn't discern, we didn't discuss. We're about to document this stuff now. Now we got to document that we created hip hop like Tariq just did. Now we got to document that we were native to this land, that we were here. We got to document that the 14th Amendment says we're exempt from unfriendly laws.
Yeah.
This is what we're
Yeah.
documenting. We are in making history right now. So this is a
Right.
highly active state because now we're creating a record and a repository for our
Yeah.
community and for the move create a history so we can look at that and move forward.
Yes.
Now
Yes.
that we've documented these things and we did all those other steps, now it's time to start developing. Now it's
Mm-hmm.
time to start building up, buying businesses, buying homes, buying land, building our farms, getting our towns, getting all the resource and commodities that we need developed.
Yeah.
Mhm.
If we get into the development stage, we're at a semi-supreme state 6.
Hmm.
We are supreme beings. And our goal is to go from a state level 0 up to the supreme state level 7.
Yeah.
State level 7 is deployment. Once we have development and we develop homes, buildings, businesses, militaries, whatever, now we're ready to formation. Now
Yeah.
we can deploy. Now we can
Yeah.
deploy them through all the towns across the nation. We can get everything set up. Now we have a network, a community that we're building and networking together, and we're not needing outside resources to sustain ourselves. This is the 7D cultural ascension practices and process that I'm putting forth for the community for us to move forward what we're doing. So I wanted to just throw that out there because I felt like y'all queens, it's a powerful thing that we're doing, and everything that I'm doing here is what you guys are talking about. And I wanted to get that out while we have so many people on this call, so
Yeah.
y'all can hear that. And I'm going to be putting more information out about that practice and those processes and the different things that you can do to make sure that you're doing those things to raise your level of consciousness, to raise the community's level of consciousness, and to fight justice on earth, because Black Americans are the only ones that can do it. And with that being said, I'm going to relinquish. And I think we're in Q&A. I know I took some time up. Y'all know that's what I do.
It's
I
okay.
know that's what Brooke knows that's what I do. But
No, that's perfect. That's why we're here. Yeah.
all right,
We're
good,
here.
good.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, I
You
do
guys
have
got more questions? Yeah, go ahead. You want me to
I thought I
answer more
saw
questions?
one or two in the chat while
It is.
okay. And then I have a question for you, Dr. Nichols. So thinking about the difference between federal laws, federal exemption, state laws, state exemptions. How do we apply the Constitution into state laws? It's really easy to see how it applies in federal laws. How do we break that down and enforce that constitutional right in state laws?
Well, when it comes to humanitarian rights, that's where the federal government trumps state law. Right? So they cannot deny you anything less than the Constitution, because the Constitution applies to all 50 states. Now, each state can exercise the Constitution in which they choose, but they cannot give you any less than the law. They can give you more, but not less. So there are some states, for example, where you have to disclose if you're recording a phone call, right? That's more than the law, because that's not within the Constitution, because there are some states where you do not have to disclose that. So that's just an example of something. Now, that's not in our Constitution, but it's a state law that gives you more above and beyond the Constitution. So when it comes to treason, treason is in their state constitution. That is not something they can bypass nor get rid of. It's in the Constitution at the state level, because like I said, each state has the Constitution that they have to abide by. They can't just say, okay, we're not going to abide by the Constitution, we're just going rogue. Nope, absolutely not. It's in there. You did that. You did it. You did it in our face. You told us to eat the sandwich, and we're not doing it. We're not doing it. No, absolutely not, ma'am. So no, you do not have to go around the state. The state owes us a responsibility and a fiduciary duty. Fiduciary, I hate that word because I always pronounce it wrong, but they have to be good stewards of the Constitution. This is why we have a House and a Senate at the state level. This is why we have councilmen and commissioners at the state level. This is why we have mayors. Right. And of course, they'll always go back to, well, there's nothing we can do. Yes, there is something you can do, because you have a state constitution. Your state constitution talks about treason, and you're committing treason right here in this state. The federal government is, they're committing treason. Now, I don't care who I go after. It's going to be you or the federal government, or maybe both, because you're both culpable. Period. Somebody's going to have to pay this check. I don't care who it is. But somebody is a dinner check. Let's go. Who is it? Do your thing. That's right. Do your thing. The state is always going to cower.
Cut the check.
And then the federal government's always going to be like, well, we're not sure. No, you're sure. You're deodorant. You need to fix this. Yes. That's a little 80s joke.
I love it.
Are you sure? Yes, I'm deodorant. So
I love it. Let's get into the rest of the questions real quick. Terry Morgan said, what about being charged higher interest rates as well? Is that an example of the unfriendly law?
Yes, it is. It's a completely unfriendly law, because I want to say it's Wells Fargo and JP Morgan Chase.
And I think Bank of America.
And Bank of America
did something too. Yeah.
They paid billions of dollars in restitution to people because they denied them loans, and they also charged them higher interest rates, even though they had good credit scores. And they found that to be disproportionately. They found it under discrimination, right? But if it is still occurring, that can be an unfriendly law and they can be retried due to that. Yes. Because it would be two different classifications. They were caught and they had to do it. But if they're still doing it, you can say, okay, this is an unfriendly practicing law that you're doing against me or against this group of individuals. Yeah.
It's funny you should say that. And then non-repetition is one of the values of reparations. Right.
One of the pillars of reparation. There's 5 pillars, and that's one of them.
Right.
Okay. Oh, so Cool Colas. We're gonna get Dr. Hashaki's information for Cool Colas because I want you guys to link. He wants your information.
Okay.
Aya said, where can we find this information that states what you were explaining verbatim so that this information can be shared and taught to younger people as well as those who are frontline activists? Aya, I'm gonna I have the screenshot that you sent, Brooke. I can put it up or like I could post it or
Right.
how do you think we can get it to you. I can post it up on my Instagram or you can get it from Brooke. Or reach out to one of us. Just reach out to one of us and we can get you that Fourth Amendment. And Brooke, then you said they could look it up.
Yes. So I actually put a link in the
I think I have it. I have it, honey.
Okay.
Is it this Students for Fair? I have the whole thing.
Yes.
Is it you sent me I'm gonna put this link up here.
Okay.
And I know some people may have the question of why didn't the NAACP bring this forth and why didn't the Black Caucus bring this forth or why didn't the Urban League bring this forth? Because they were put in place as a placeholder. And so what I mean by that is they're a literal placeholder. And so their job is to ensure and make sure that we as a people do not get what we need.
And they're doing an awesome job.
They really are. They are doing, look, 10,000.
That's right.
They're doing a great job. We get to do? We get to look at anything that they have done unfriendly towards us. Oh, I am looking forward to this lawsuit. I'm looking forward to it because it can be a class action at this point. I like it.
Yes. Yeah, that's what I was thinking, a class action. Cool Cola said, and that's why it's important to call out coons. And you see how he spelled that. So that's his own. He has his own way. This is his brother's own way. This brother's a visionary brother. He said the reality is all unity revolutionary Black movements that have been broken were because of a traitor. We need to connect with the like-minded. Absolutely.
Yes, definitely.
Absolutely. And he did try to call, but I'm having some technical difficulties with that phone. So I don't want to bring it on and then it messes up other stuff.
Oh, understood.
Well, I'll get that going for the next show.
Yeah. Thank you for trying.
Yes, I know. The brother is supporting us and he's going to support both of you ladies. So that's just who he is. So yeah.
Thank you.
And I think that was all the questions I had that were in the chat.
Okay.
But we have a robust group in the chat.
Yeah. Well, thank you, everybody, for coming out. I don't have anything else. Do you guys have any last words or tips, tricks, the things you want people to take away with or go home with?
Linked with.
I don't know what that is. What's PGRNA?
I'm not sure.
Do you want to tell us what that is? I and we'll try to answer that for you.
Yeah.
You want to just type in the chat what that is?
But I would just really encourage everyone to research the link, research the 14th Amendment, and start to develop your own questions, really, and send them to me. I'm located at usaredemptionparty.com. I do check the website with questions and it sends me alerts. when people are reaching out, and just start to have X spaces and do calls like what we're having here, and having more conversations, because the more conversations that we have, it's going to stir the pot a little bit more. I know that we are an organizational people, and we always want to have our little organizations and everything. And of course, what Brooke was saying is true. We also live in fear of someone destroying it. So I don't want to discourage us from building organizations, but I do want to discourage us from going to historical organizations that have not helped us, right? Because bringing this to the NAACP, they're going to be like, oh, no, that's not true. Like, you know what? It may not be true for you because you may not be of the soil. And that's a fair assessment. And
Right.
that could be a true statement for you, but that's not a true statement for me or for those like me. So we really need to just do our due diligence on our own. We can do this pro se. We do not need an attorney. Like I said, I'm a paralegal.
We
We
got
have
you.
every right in this country to defend ourselves. And I know some other people, they're a little bit off grid, rogue. You know what I'm saying? They know how to work the Constitution that I ran into on X. And I appreciate their minds and their grind to really pull away from the federal government and actually start to exercise our rights in this republic as citizens of this republic.
Absolutely, absolutely. Beautifully said, beautifully stated. Little Grizzly Bear said this was a powerful dialogue and information sharing, ladies. Do any of you on the panel have any suggestions or ideas of how to get any of our other people in the legal field to get involved in the fight? So I'll let Dr. Shaq say something to that, and
Yeah,
then
like
I'll
I
give a
said,
closing remark.
yeah, just reach out to those that are in the legal profession, and again, with attorneys, paralegals, you know, people that are like-minded. So it doesn't always have to be an attorney, like I said, but definitely reach out to those in the legal field if you have other questions. But reach out to other people that are like-minded. um, as Queen Bee was saying earlier. I think that's one of the most important things, and really just sharing what you've learned, because guess what? It's okay to crawl before you walk, you know, and we are definitely walking, and we're on our way to running, because this is just adding more information to the case for reparations that we already have in place. So we're just that much further along with this information.
So thank you so much for that. And then before we close the show out, I just want to read one small excerpt because this is August 1st and this is Black August. So I want to make sure that people are aware of what Black August is, and I want to give them some things that they can do to honor Black August and give them an understanding and a foundation of what that is and why they should be caring about that. Okay. So I'll do that real quick and then I'll go ahead and end the show if you guys don't mind. So, Black August, I want you guys, first of all, to go look it up. August 1st in 1978. Some brothers, they call them the San Quentin Six, were trying to escape. They were in rebellion and escape in the prison that they were in, and they murdered these brothers. Like they just flat out murdered them. So it was a big thing, but I want you guys to go look that up. But what I want to show you guys and tell you is, in commemoration of Black August, the brothers wore black armbands on their left arm. This is why I have this on. All August, I'll be wearing this. They wore black armbands on their left arm. They studied revolutionary work with particular emphasis on George Jackson's writings. George Jackson is the brother from the San Quentin Six. He's one of the brothers, so you can look him up as a reference. They did not listen to the radio. They did not watch television. They did not drink or eat anything from sun up to sundown. Loud or boastful behavior was not allowed. They did not support the prison canteen or anything during Black August. The emphasis is on sacrifice, fortitude, and discipline, guys. Okay. What we need to be doing, unity, these are the principles: unity, self sacrifice, political education, which we're doing today, physical training, and resistance. Those are the five. Okay. Black August, resistance, unity, self sacrifice, political education, physical training, and resistance. Get your black armbands, Fast if you can't fast. Choose something to give up. Choose something to do. Go find somebody to study. I don't care who it is. Do something for Black August. Get active. Get from dormant. We want to get to deployment. Let's get it. Thank you, ladies. Dr. Hashaki Nichols, founder of the Redemption Party. Make sure you follow her. All week, I'll be putting stuff up from them. Brooke knows I'll be putting stuff up all week from this. Brooke Sinclair, founder of the Super PAC. I want to thank these ladies so much for coming on. I want to thank the family. I want to thank everybody in the audience. Remember that Black education empowers true vision. And please make sure you represent for Black August. Peace.